Welcome back to The Real Story. Where there's smoke, there's fire. This age-old idiom is rarely ever wrong, if at all. And today it's a bombshell discovery of flames that have been fanned for years and years on our dime. So in a surprising turn of events that nobody could have ever foreseen, 4 men have pleaded guilty for a decade-long bribery scheme involving a USAID officer. The 4 men, including a government contracting officer for the agency, and 3 owners and presidents of companies, recently admitted to their roles in the scheme that included 14 major contracts worth $550 million taxpayer dollars. Roderick Watson, the former aid officer, pled guilty to bribery of a public official, and the 3 other men, Walter Barnes, Darrell Britt, and Paul Young, pled guilty to conspiracy to commit bribery of a public official. In addition, Aprio and Viston, companies owned by Britt and Barnes respectively, have agreed to admit criminal liability and enter 3-year deferred prosecution agreements, or DPAs, in connection with criminal activities. And in doing so, the companies admitted to engaging in a conspiracy to commit bribery of a public official and securities fraud. So Matthew R. Gallotti, head of the Justice Department's Criminal Division, said about it, quote, "The defendants sought to enrich themselves at the expense of American taxpayers through bribery and fraud," end quote. Meanwhile, the U.S. Attorney for the District of Maryland, Kelly O. Hayes, has said the actions by these men undermine public trust and the integrity of our public institutions. Yeah, no kidding. But according to court documents, beginning back in 2013, while Watson was a contracting officer at USAID, he agreed to take bribes from Britt in exchange for awarding contracts to his company, Aprio. As Aprio was a certified small business under the SBA 8A contracting program, it could access more lucrative contracts and opportunities without a competitive bid process. Then Viston, Barnes' company, would also serve as a subcontractor on contracts granted under Watson's influence. And once Aprio graduated from being classified as a small business, the scheme shifted so that Viston would be the primary and Aprio would be the subcontractor. Bribes would then be transferred secretly by Young. And Britt and Barnes also reportedly bribed Watson with cash, with laptops, tickets to a suite at an NBA game, down payments on not 1 but 2 residential mortgages, cell phones, and even jobs for relatives. Now all 4 men face sentencing in the coming months. And for his part, Watson faces up to 15 years in prison, while Barnes, Britt, and Young all face 5 years. Here with reaction is Davis Younts, a military defense attorney with Younts Law. Davis, my friend, what's your initial reaction here?
You know, my initial reaction to it is this is probably just the tip of the iceberg.
Yes.
When we look at a scandal, a fraudulent scheme that was being engaged in for over 10 years, that just gives us some level of insight into what we're looking at when we talk about the billions and billions of dollars that are involved in USAID. And so we shouldn't be surprised. We shouldn't be shocked. The incentive structure is there, and we know the oversight was missing. USAID became sort of a slush fund for NGOs and other organizations to take advantage of the American taxpayers. So I'm just not shocked by this. It's sad. It's sad that the audits and other things that are supposed to be happening don't detect this, but I'm not surprised.
Same. And look, the agency's original mission, sure, it was nice and it was noble, but there's been so much mission drift, it could make your head spin. So at this point, I say just axe it, abolish it. It is rotten to the core, too corrupt to save. In fact, I made a list of some of the other things they've been funding. We've talked about this before, but Davis, let's go through it just one by one, shall we? $6 million to fund tourism in Egypt. Okay. $2 million for sex changes and LGBT activism in Guatemala. $20 million for Sesame Street workshops in Iraq. $1.5 million to advance DEI in Serbia's workplaces. $2.5 million for EVs in Vietnam, $70,000 for a DEI musical in Ireland, the homeland of my people, $47,000 for a transgender opera in Colombia. Davis, I could go through this all day long with you. It's insane to me.
No, and you're absolutely right. And the problem with these organizations, the problem with what we see here is that, the liberal progressives have used this as a way to transport their agenda all over the world, to translate, just to transport often an anti-American, but certainly a disgusting, evil agenda all over the world. And we laugh about these numbers because it feels like monopoly money. But again, our government bureaucracy, you say get rid of USAID, we need to look at all of our government bureaucracies, because when we have a bureaucracy this large, Congress cannot possibly exercise any real and meaningful oversight. So if their power, the power of the purse in the budgeting process, gives them control over government agencies, and they're not willing to do it, and we have 1,000-page bills that no one has time to read. This is the kind of things that happen. And it's not just the corruption and the fraud, people that are willing to take advantage of this. It's this evil ideology that's being transported all over the world at the expense of taxpayers. No taxpayer would stand by and want to support the funding of these things, especially with their hard-worked money. I mean, just look at the hours that you work, that our families work to take care of each other, and this is the kind of money we're wasting on these things. It's ridiculous. It has to stop. And I'm hoping that this will be just another example for not just D.C., but for the American people to say we need to vote for change and we need to push these issues, because Congress cannot possibly get its arms around this unless we start cutting these agencies.
Thank you for your time today, Davis.
Thank you. Take care.
Left to men like Davis Younts fighting for these Navy SEALs. Davis Younts, you are an attorney who has successfully defended naval officers.
Davis Younts has been instrumental in defending.
Davis Younts successfully defended an evangelical Navy lieutenant